Let us chant Namo Tassa before the start of the session. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. All right. So today, to carry on from our meditation and practice and discussions, which we had on Sunday, we will be going deeper into discussing the practice of Indriya Bhavana. Now, we do know, or we might have heard, when questioned by Venerable Ananda, the Buddha refers to the superiority of this practice, right? However, when we come across the terms Indriya Bhavana and Indriya Samvara, these are two very different components that, of course, mutually supports one another. Now, to start off, we might have heard of the story of the Brahmin Uttara when he refers to his teachers' teachings on saying that one must not look, that one must not smell, that one must not taste, right? As a way of combating the lusts, the disillusions of mind, and all of that. And it is to this that the Buddha exhorts then, that then the blind might have already attained enlightenment. Remember, I think we've heard that, isn't it? Right? Now, following on that, the sutras such as Indriya Bhavana sutras have been taught, teaching the process of Indriya Bhavana. Right. Now, with our own personal practice, we could sort of understand when the Buddha says, look less, see more. Hear less, listen more. Smell less, breathe more. Eat less, taste more. Touch less, feel more. Think less, watch more. This is the benefit or the immediate fruits that we experience from as a result of Indriya Samvara. When the senses are not caught up in the external, what we experience as an immediate fruit of that practice is that we are able to actually experience more and feel deeper with relations to the objects at hand, right? With regard to the objects at hand. Now, in the Buddha's path of practice, we often would find the teachings misconstrued, right? In a way that we might assume that the practice is about the suppression of the senses. However, the teachings of the Buddha has nothing to do with the suppression of the senses, but with the guarding of senses, right? Indriya Gutta Dwara, the Pali word. Gutta, G-U-T-T-A, Gutta Dwara. Indriyesu Gutta Dwara, right? This is, or what this serves to do, or what this serves in our process towards enlightenment, is the suppression of senses. The suppression of senses is a simple sort of putting off for another day sort of thing, right? The suppression of senses does not do anything, as the Buddha says. The guarding of senses brings about sense restraint, right? Sense restraint and wholesome perceptions. Kusala Sanya, helping in the process of for the sake of mental focus, for the sake of mental focus. That is where the Buddha says then, look less, see more, and what I sort of went on to say, right? At this time, to a person who does not or has not cultivated the senses, the Indriyas we spoke of, as we spoke of on Sunday, the issue with the Indriyas is that the form, the taste, and all of the components that we come to experience becomes a dominant factor in our consciousness stream, right? In our consciousness stream. That is the issue. When we go through the process of Indriya Bhavana, when we cultivate this meditation, what happens is the senses now do not pursue or hold a dominating element. Rather, they become tools. Tools. And important tools at that. How and why, we will speak of in a little bit. They become tools. That is the most profound part to a beginner when it comes to Indriya Bhavana, everyone. Converting or taking away the power that the unguarded mind gives to the senses, where the senses becomes a being of its own, to now making it, molding it, carving it into becoming a beautiful tool that aids enlightenment. And this is important, and its level of importance cannot be said when it comes to this path of enlightenment, right? Remember, Trihetuka Pratisandhika Pudgalas can attain nirvana, and a component of that Trihetuka Pratisandhika is a healthy system of the five senses. Sorry, six senses, including the mind, right? Six senses. So the five senses is important. The danger is when we do not know how to control it, right? And by control, I am referring to the perception. Now, let us move on to now sort of seeing, when we have Indriya Bhavana has been taught by the Buddha in three different categories. One, for those who are unenlightened to any degree, pradukjanas, right? Meditators, starting off in the practice, right? Then too, those practitioners who have attained enlightenment but not fullest enlightenment. So, Sotapanna, Sakurdagami, Anagami. And the last is for arhats, enlightened beings. Is that clear? Right? Enlightened beings. Now, let me just connect my iPad really quickly. Sorry, so that I can draw something up for you. Oops. Oh, yes, here we go. Can you see my screen, everyone? No?
Yeah, we can see black screen.
Oh, you can see the black screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see the handwriting?
Ante?
Can you see the writing?
No.
Keep on
No.
trying. Yeah. Maybe the pen is not. Oh, yeah. Now it's right.
Lovely. Technology. Okay. So now, okay. Now this will make it clear, right? This will make it clear. Now, when we have the faculties, right? We have the faculties. The faculties are the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind. Right? I'm just going to separate the mind there. I'm sorry about my handwriting. Right? Now, right. Now, this is called the sense faculty. Let me draw it up in different colors. Right?
Indriya. This is how you can realize Bhavana. By not denying.
Yes. There.
Looking in control.
I'm just going to, okay. Now, this is called the sense faculty. Right? The sense faculty. Now, after the sense faculty, what appears is, everyone, what appears is the sense object. Right? The sense object. Now, this is very important, everyone, for your meditation. Right? The sense object. The sense object is then form, ear is sound, nose is smell, tongue is taste, body is touch, and mind is dhamma. Right? And mind is dhamma. Now, how do these connect? Right? How do these connect? The eye creates or brings about the sense object, which is form. The ear, sound, nose, smell, tongue, taste, body, touch, mind, dhamma. Is that all? Is that all? Sorry, not Siri. Is that all? Is that all, everyone? Echrada. No. Now, one part that we are missing is
Vijnana. Vijnana?
Why would you say Vijnana?
Consciousness.
consciousness.
The sense consciousness. Discriminative sense consciousness.
Yes, yes. What I'm relating is to the connections. The other part which we are missing here is I'm going to put it in another color, which is the connection between, now look at this, form and mind, sound and mind, smell and mind, taste and mind, touch and mind, which allows for dharma to arise. Do you understand? Yeah. Which allows dharma to arise. All of these things, when it comes to at that moment, we find this form, sound, smell, touch, taste, which we experience. But then do we not have those elements coming to us again later on? Yes, we do. How does that happen? When form, sound, smell, taste, touch, the red lines going to mind, and that comes down to Dhamma, and Dharmayatana has the hindrances and all of these kusala, all of that working. Right? Now, this is a second part, everyone. What then appears is what? What then appears, I'm going to put it in another color. We have sense faculty, sense object, right? Then we have what? We have feeling, right? Then we have feeling, right? Now, feeling is what? Feeling can be, this is common for all. It can be pleasant, unpleasant, sorry about my handwriting, and neutral. Right? This is special. Right? This is common for all, everyone. It can be pleasant, it can be unpleasant, and it can be neutral. In other words, agreeable, disagreeable, and neutral. Right? Now, where is the, now, if we at the moment of Indriya Bhavana, Indriya Bhavana avasthavedi,
You can't keep it open now. You said that.
Dill, sorry, you have to mind the mute button, please. Indriya Bhavana karana avasthavedi, at the moment of practice, everyone. Now, where is the practice? Right? Where is the practice? Does the practice come at the moment of Indriya? Does the practice come at the moment of the sense object? Form, sound, smell, taste, Dhamma, a touch, Dhamma? Where does it come? Where is the practice? The practice should be done towards, does anyone want to say?
Bante Vedana.
The Vedana.
Sanya.
Correct. Correct. The Vedana. Now, Vedana.
Bhante, is it the beginning of the Vedana before you differentiate whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral?
Brilliant question, Damsiri. Brilliant question, but we are going to answer that in a second, right? Vedana. Now, Vedana is a feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Hare, pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. The Vedana, now Vedana, from the Vedana, the process would usually go, right? Now, what is the Vedana? What is the process of Vedana like? That part is broken into sign and features. Nimitta saha vyanjana. Nimitta saha vyanjana කියන මේ දෙකට කඩනවා. Right? Now, that is where Damsari, your answer will come. So please, 1 second, right? Now we have Sanya, right? Sanya, perception. Perception, right? Perception. through the perception, we see it as what? We see it as conditioned, gross, dependently arising, and most importantly, impermanent, right? Impermanent. I'm going to write impermanent first. Impermanent, conditioned, conditioned, olarika. Olarika is gross, dependent arising. Right? Dependent arising. Dependent arising. Now, this, everyone, is Sotapanna Venna Kalin Prutujjana Satvik the Adala Budupiran Vahansaki Indriya Bhavana Krame Tamai me. Meet Vada Indriya Bhavana Kauruat Desuot Eka Budupiran Vahansetat Udin Gepu Kenik. This is it. This is the Indriya Bhavana. Right? For you, right? For you, this is the Indriya Bhavana. I can't, let me see if I can turn it like this. You can see all of it now. Now for you, for any Prutujjana, this is the Indriya Bhavana technique. Right? This is the Indriya Bhavana technique. Is that clear, everyone? Right? The sense Indriya is present. Indriya brings about the sense object. The sense object, when the sense object is present, that sense object is taken, or because owing to the way that it is perceived, the conditioning of the mind, the way of the mind, the training of the mind, the power of the mind, all of these things would come together to derive a certain Vedana for that specific object. A Vedanava would we contemplate on that element, or rather that sense object, which has now been taken of in a certain way, a Vedana, as impermanent, conditioned, gross, dependent arising. Is that clear, everyone? Right? Is that clear? Now, when we shall we do, let us do now for the person who has attained to, okay, for the person who has attained enlightenment, so Sotapanna, Sakudagami, Anagami Pudgalek make a Sampurna Karana Komada. Right? For that, everyone, this is what happens. Right? Now, this is for Putujjanas. When it comes to Sotapanna, Sakudagami, Anagami, Arhat, what happens is, look at the screen, right? This part may Sanya වෙනස් වෙනවා. මොකද්ද වෙනස් වෙන සංඥාව? How does the Sanya change? The Sanya changes to being troubled. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ වේදනාව කෙරෙහි, towards the Vedana that arises, the person arouses a sense of viraga, a sense of shame, a sense of disgust, a sense of displeasure with regards to this Vedana that arises. Do you understand? Is that clear? Right? A shame, okay, or rather ashamed, disgusted, right? Ashamed, disgusted by the sensation, right? By the sensation. Is that clear, everyone? Right? The Sotapanna, Sakudagami, Anagami person does this. The arhat, what does the arhat do? The arhat has mastery over the senses. He creates and has the will to create whatever world he wishes through the five senses. For him, he is not a slave to the five senses or the six indriyas or the five indriyas. For him, the indriyas are a tool. Is that clear? Right? Is that clear? Right? So for him, he applies the perceptions, any perception, the way උන්වහන්සේට ගෝචර වෙන ඕනෑම සංඥාවක් උන්වහන්සේ ඉන්ද්‍රියන් කෙරෙහි යොමු කරනවා. What does that mean? Right? What does what does that mean? What that means is, let us say that he wishes to go deeper into breaking them into vipassana, he can do that. Let us say that he abides with abides with complete freedom of this, he can do that. Let us think that he wishes to dwell with complete shunyata sanya towards the Indriyas, he can do that. Let us say that he will only experience it for that moment, he can do that. Do you understand? Whatever way he chooses to be with the Indriyas, he can be in that manner. Is that clear? Right? අරමුණු උන්වහන්සේට අවශ්‍ය විදියට යොමු වෙනවා. Is that clear, everyone? Right? He is, so in that state, what happens is master applies any of the five perceptions. Right? Now, he applies any of the five Damsi, do you have something to say?
Yeah, Bhante, it's when it comes to arhat,
Yeah.
arhat still has pleasant feeling, but it will not give rise to clinging.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I understand, right?
Yes. So there is no clinging in this sense.
Yeah.
ඒ වුණාට දම්සිරි මේ in the process of sense faculty into sense object into feeling, all of that arises.
Yeah.
ඒත් රහතන් වහන්සේ නමට කිසිම විදිහකට මේ ඉන්ද්‍රියන්ගේ භයානකත්වයක් නැහැ.
All right.
භයානක භූමියක් නැහැ ඒ රහතන් වහන්සේට. මොකද ඉන්ද්‍රියන්ට කිසිම බලපෑමක් නැහැ රහතන් වහන්සේගේ මනසට. The indriyas can cause no damage because for the arhat, because the arhat has disposed of all his kilesas and any inclinations that he would sort of go into clinging on to any of the indriyas, that fades away. That is no more. Right? So within the arahant's mind itself, the indriyas would be perceived with absolute mastery as a tool, not as anything else.
Yeah.
Right? Not as anything else. Now that is the end of that screen sharing. Then, right? Any questions, anyone? Yes, Mala.
Auntie, I read the write-up done by Indriya Bhavana by Bhikkhu Bodhi, and even in his write-up, he has mentioned Patsovan, Sakradagami, and Anagami. He has mentioned the word ashamed, disgusted. I can't understand why you should feel ashamed when you get a feeling. Say when you see a flower, why should you feel ashamed? And that the words.
Yeah. We are not laughing at you, Mala. We are laughing with you. Okay. The shame and disgust does not arise towards the object. It arises to the mind's inclination of cultivating a feeling towards the object that is olarika, right? Conditioned, impermanent, grows, and conditioned by many. Right? The mind being taken aback, being controlled, being fascinated by such poor and low object, right? It's not the fact that the flower is not on my level. It's the fact of why was I so blinded to be attached to something that is so fleeting.
Yeah.
Fleeting.
Thank you, Bante. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is why it is shame and disgust. Yes, sir.
Bante, in other words, we can say that because of the wisdom faculty of arhat.
You're not arhat yet.
No, I mean because of the prajna, because of the
Yes,
yeah,
I'm going to
knowledge.
Yes, of course, Mali, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm going to answer that in a different way. Right? In a bit. Right? In a bit. But I'm going to answer that in a different way. Now, we come to Damsiri's point. Now, in the Indriya Bhavana, now, any more questions, anyone? Can we move on? Yeah? Okay, let's move on. If you have any questions, ask. Now, when it comes to us seeing an object, this object, it is categorized. When it comes to cognizing an object, the object is cognized, or the elements of the object is cognized in two ways, or can be cognized in two ways, initially and later on. Initially arises nimitta, right? Later on arises vyanjana, right? Nimitta and vyanjana, sign and detail. Okay, sign and detail, right? When we guard the sense doors, it is said, we do not grasp at any sign or detail, nimitta or vyanjana. Kerehi kisima trushnavakin allima naha. Right? Now, when there is no clinging, what happens is the unwholesome qualities such as covetousness and displeasure does not arise. Hey, Mali, this is your answer. Right? What is another word for covetousness and displeasure? Kama chanda vyapada. Kama chanda vyapada. It is simply the first two hindrances. Right? The first two hindrances. The first two hindrances, everyone, is what keeps us entrenched and bathing in this same old mud again and again. Alenava gatenava, alenava gatenava, alenava gatenava. Meka tamai ape me natuma metana. This is the dance that we have, right? We cling, and now it becomes sour grapes, and now we have friction, and then we find something else to cling. This goes on and on and on and on. In Indriya Bhavana, what we realize is this, the first thing that we realize, which then goes into the prajna hemali, as you very correctly mentioned. A prajnaව නැමැති විදර්ශනාව හටගන්නේ මෙතනින්. කොහෙන්ද? කාමච්ඡන්ද සහ ව්‍යාපාද නැමැති මේ hindrances, කිලේශ ධර්ම යටපත් කරනවා. The kama chanda, sensuous desire and ill will, is suppressed, attacked. Why? Because we see the poor quality of the sense objects, which are perceived as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. How do we see it? As conditioned, as gross, as conditioned, as grossed, as as dependently arising and impermanent, right? Through that, we see Mithana at there is nothing to cling on here. There's nothing to cling on it. When that happens, the lifeline, the Jivita Indriya of Kama, Chanda, and Vyapada is taken away. Kama, Chanda, and Vyapada does not have a ground to stand on. Why? Because remember, everyone, now what happens, I'm sharing the screen again, for right? The red line, where is my screen? Here it is. The red lines. Now, this loses strength, this loses strength of control, this loses strength, this loses strength, this loses strength, and what at the end loses strength? The stories that we create here. The stories that we create here, the linking of lobha, dosa, moha, methering api kapanama. This loses its power. Right? That loses its power. That loses its power. So when that loses its power, then what happens is the Kama Chanda and Vyapada loses the ground that it has to stand on. So Kama Chanda and Vyapada, Indriya Bhavana as a practice helps, is most powerful because it cuts off the power to Kama Chanda Vyapada. Kama Chanda sa Vyapade kapanna, because it attacks Kama Chanda and Vyapada directly, what happens is me loke kerehi tina trushnava tanhava sa gatima kina me tuna ape jeevithen tika ayin වෙනවා. Right? When these three, I'm sorry, I'm using Sinhala as well, but these three, when these three, these two, Kamachanda and Vyapada cut off, what also gets cut off is this, the effect of the punctures. Prapanchan tula tibena shaktiya then bohoma, it becomes weaker by the moment. Why? What is tanha, drushti, mana? Tanha, drushti, mana, ditti, mana. Tanha, ditti, mana, when Kamachanda and Vyapada are two very powerful attributes. How do we know this? For mana to arise, how do we know that? Because Somana Sagar, all the lobha chittas and dosa chittas arise with what? Moha. Right? Because of lobha and dosa, moha becomes powerful. When moha becomes powerful, what happens afterwards, everyone? Now moha thinks that it's the big shot, and now it starts arising on its own. Now vichikicha and uddacha. Do you understand? In the beginning, moha did not have a good point to stand on. But with tanha, through using tanha and dosa as a stepping stone, moha gained its power. Right? Moha gains its power. So let's take an example. A person becomes addicted to something, tanha. becomes addicted. Now, when the substance of addiction is taken away, be it chocolate, be it TV, be it the mobile phone, be it what is social media or whatever it is, now the person doesn't feel, he doesn't feel confident to be on his own. A person does not feel confident to go out of the house without a mobile phone. Now see, when that is taken away, now the person has lost the confidence. Why? That self has attached to something. Now what happens as a result? Moha flourishes, vichikiccha and uddacha. No confidence is a manifestation of uddacha. Right? The restlessness of mind. The person does not realize, no, I don't need the phone. Or I don't need to eat. I don't need to do this. Why? That depends. I don't need to drink. That doesn't arise. Why? Uddacha and vichikiccha, doubt. That moha gains its power there. So back to sign and nimitta. Hemal, did I now answer your question? Good, right? Now we come to, thank you Hemal for asking. Then we come to nimitta. Now nimitta kyanne mokadda? What is nimitta? Nimitta is the sign. What or how it is explained is in this manner. Sorry. How it is explained is, yes, dear.
And so when you said it was decreased, so that's how you become from so on to Sattva-gami when you reduce it, and when it's completely cut away, you become Anagami.
Yes, of course. Yes. Yeah, that keeps on. With the first, we become disillusioned by it, right? We stop acting dependent, or we stop being dependent rather, but we are still sort of, that sense of taste is there, but we are not fools, right? We are not fools, and we are not willing to sacrifice ourselves for the sake of the Indriyas anymore after Sotapannahood. After Sotapannahood, that is where the Viraga process starts, right? From Sotapanna, Sakurdagami to Anagami. From Anagami, after the Viraga, now Viraga, through the whole point, now you become an entire master. That is when you are arhat, right? But the first most important thing is to stop being deluded that this is important, right? That this creates the world. No, we create the world. Do you understand? We create the world. Yeah?
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay. Thank you, dear. Now, nimitta. What is the nimitta? Now, this is important. Why? Because when it comes to our meditational practice, right, how do we practically apply this? The answer to that is found within this part of the teachings. When we go into, or when we look at an object, hear, form, smell, taste, whatever it is, what do we first realize about that said object? That is the nimitta. Do you understand? That is the nimitta. Once, right, that is the nimitta. Is that clear? Meaning, nimminati, right? Nimminati, that is a Pali word, nimminati. Nimminati is how does, or literally the means of how one measures out. What is this? Mokaddame. What is this? May object, the main factor which can be different for people, right? Which can be different for people, right? A person might look at someone quite far away and then first realize, oh, that's a human. Another person might look at that same object and think, ah, that's a male, a female, that's an animal. Do you understand what I mean? Right? Whatever which is the way by which you measure out or really sort of understand the first instance that what that object is, that is a sign. Do you understand? A nimitta kerehi. When you look at that, what feeling arises? Let us say pleasant. Let us say pleasant. Now, pleasant, right? We do not, now pleasant feeling arose towards that object. Let us say male or female. Let us take sex, male or female. Now, whatever the mind, from the mind, we cultivate the sanya within us to say impermanent. Towards what? Not the person, the Vedana that arose to that person. Do you understand? Now that's an important one, everyone. Right? That's an important one. Not the person, the Vedana that arose towards that cognitive process of mind which understood that person. Do you understand? Right? දැන් මලක් දැක්කම මල කෙරෙහි යම්කිසි ආසාවක් හටගත්තා නම් ඒ ආසාවෙන් දැකපු මල ඒ ආශාව කියන දෙය හෝ ඒ සුබ අරමුණ that wholesome object අනිත්‍යයි ඕලාරිකයි. Do you understand? Right? That is what the text mentions. Right? That is what the text mentions, word to word, right? That object taken through that feeling, right? So we have the object, right? And then we have the feeling that has linked to this object. Now that is what? Do you understand? Any questions, anyone? Any questions? Yes.
Bhante, can you explain it again? That if we, when we see a flower, explain it again, Bhante. We have to think that the flower is impermanent or the Vedana is Vedana is impermanent, no?
No.
Yeah, what is? Yeah, explain it.
No. Vedanaven gatta arumuna. We have the sense object. Shall we share the screen again? We have the sense object. Yeah, it's the screen now. Oh, here it is. We have the sense object here. Now, we have the sense object. Right? We have the eye. Right? This one here. The eye takes in a form. That form, owing to whatever way we will take as pleasant, right? Let's take unpleasant. Just to make it a bit more grosser, right? Let's take unpleasant. Maha kata malak. Right? දැකි ගමන් හිරිකිතයි. හරි මහම මා කැත මලක්. කැත මලක්.
පරවෙච්ච මලක්.
නෑ කැත මලක්. A real ugly looking flower. Right? Or even, there are some real mushrooms that look really disgusting. To me, I'm sorry to offend anyone. So, let us take a flower. The flower, which is a form, unpleasant feeling arose. Now the flower, right? And then the unpleasant feeling, mala saha kata mala. Right? The sanya of what? Impermanence, let us say, is to the vibration which was created by the feeling which brought together the form and the unpleasant feeling. Do you understand? No, that wasn't that clear. Okay, let's look at it this way, right? Now there is a the ugly flower, right? Now this flower, this is a flower in nature, right? Damsari, stop laughing at my drawing, please. Now we see this, right? Now we see this, right? This creates, right? This creates an unpleasant feeling, right? This creates an unpleasant feeling. This creates an unpleasant feeling, right? Now, this unpleasant feeling, with this unpleasant feeling that is created, the flower plus this unpleasant feeling. Do you understand?
Yes.
This flower plus this unpleasant feeling, right? The method, what we would usually do is this, right? What we would usually do is this. Now, the unpleasant feeling arose. Let me do it in another color. The unpleasant feeling arose, right? And the anitya, I would say, me mala, anitya. Do you understand? That is what we would usually do.
Yeah.
This flower is impermanent.
Yes. Yes.
Right? But what you do is, when you think this flower is impermanent, right? That's a ajjatika dhamma. Right?
That means external.
External.
Yeah.
Right? External. But what the Indriya Bhavana practice is this. Metana yamkisi rasak තියෙනවනේ. මෙතන යම්කිසි consciousness එකක් තියෙනවනේ. මෙන්න මෙතන
unpleasant feeling එක.
No, දෙකම. මේ unpleasant feeling එක ගත්ත මල. The flower which has been taken by the unpleasant feeling. This and this is different. Do you understand?
The interpretation of the flower.
It is.
You are in your own interpretation.
මේ මන් තුල මන් දකින මේ මල මෙතන.
Yeah.
Right? මම මේ දකින මල.
Yeah.
The way that I have now, because when the unpleasant feeling, it is like, for example, a infant that does not like vegetables. Right? The infant that does not like vegetables. Now I don't like vegetables or cat is yucky is in that infant's mind. No. Do you understand? Is that clear? That carrot is yucky. That image of carrot with unpleasant feeling is in that infant's mind. Right? That is what is anicca according to the Indriya Bhavana practice. We do not take this flower here as impermanent. What we do is we focus on this. Do you understand? This is important, everyone. This is important.
In other words, it's Sanya.
It is Sanya.
Yeah.
Exactly correct, Damsari. Thank you. I should have said that.
Yeah.
It is Sanya. මේ සංඥාවෙන් මේ අරුමුණ ගන්න සංඥාව තමයි මේ අවස්ථාව මේ අනිත්‍යභාවයෙන් අපි දකින්නේ. Right? The sanya that we create, the mental image that we create, taking through the indriya, the sense object, the feeling, and the sense object together, these two, this is taken by the sanya, no? Do you understand?
Bhante, can I ask something?
Yes.
See, Bhante, when you, in science, when you do experiments, and this is why they find it the placebo effect. So now you have this flower, and then you have the eye looking at it, and there is a perception anyway of this flower being ugly, which give when the eye sees it. And so this you say Sanya, but actually this is what the observer bias is. And that's why in all these trials you have to do a double-blind control trial. Because depending on the person, what you see changes.
Yes. Yes.
So that is why you can't get consistency of experiments for these things. When you measure the length and the breadth is different, but when you have to see and become aware of something else, it entirely depends on the consciousness of that person. Because for somebody, durian, when you see, you will think it's terrible because that person's experience has been that, or you might say he doesn't know what it is. Other people, even the very refurbishment, even before that is good. And what is that changes to that being a horrible smell or a good smell or ugly flower, pretty, is something that is within the expansion or the vibrations of that consciousness. That
exactly correct. That's exactly what I'm trying to say too, Dil. Right?
Thank you, Bhante.
That is exactly correct.
Yes.
Right? And thank you, Dil, for saying it in that manner.
Yeah.
Because that is exactly so. The way, the true reality of that and the way that we see it is different. Right? And now think of this, everyone. You're going on a walk. Right? And we are practicing Anitya Sanya. You're going through a beautiful park and you're telling yourself, this is Anitya, this is Anitya, this is Anitya. How depressing is that? You know what I mean? Right? I mean, it is the full-blown summer, right? It's beautiful. And you're telling, this is Anitya, this is Anitya. Now, according to the Indriya Bhavana practice, me manase, the mano arammana that we have, that is the one that we take as impermanent. Is that clear? Hema Malik, is that clear? Right? Is that
Yes, Bhante. Yeah, now it's clear.
Yeah, is that clear?
Yeah.
Now this, now one might think that metana වර්ධවා හිතන්න එපා කවුරුත්. මෙතන මේක පැහැදිලි කරා ගන්න. This flower and the unpleasant, I should actually do this. I should do it like this, right? This flower and the unpleasant together creates the unpleasant flower, right? I'm going to do it like that. It looks like a bit of a pig, right? Do you understand? This is the object, because one might think we are looking at the impermanence of the unpleasant feeling and the flower. No. The unpleasant flower, do you understand? The pleasant flower, the pleasant smell, the unpleasant smell, do you understand? මේ දුක්ඛ වේදනාවෙන් ගත්ත මේ මල තමයි මේ දකින්නේ. දුක්ඛ වේදනාව සහ මල එකතුව දැන් යම්කිසි මනාරම්මණයක් තියෙනවනේ. ඒ මනාරම්මණය තමයි අපි දැන් මේ දකින්නේ. Do you understand? Yeah? Is that clear? Any questions? Any questions? No question? Okay. So, now.
Bhante,
Yeah.
can I ask a question, Bhante?
Yes,
Please.
Anuma, yeah.
Yeah. Bhante, now you see an ugly flower
Yeah.
and you go passing that, but maybe a day or two after that also, still it remains. Is that what you mean, Bhante? That is the Sanya that you have taken the Sanya in, and you think of that flower, and then you get the Vedana. Is that what you... No.
No. What
Sanya isn't it that, Bhante?
No, Sanya is the perception of that moment which goes into understanding, or rather cognizing, that specific object.
Yeah.
right? That specific object. So when we are talking about the ugly flower, the flower has been taken or cognized by the mind as ugly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
එතන වේදනාවක් තියෙනවනේ. ඒ වේදනාව නිකන් නෙමෙයිනේ තියෙන්නේ අනෝමා. ඒ
Mm-hmm.
වේදනාව එතන තියෙන මලත් එක්ක.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
ඒ මලත් එක්ක තියෙන වේදනාව තමයි ඕලාරික. ඒ මලත් එක්ක තියෙන වේදනාව තමයි අනිත්‍ය. ඒ මලත් එක්ක තියෙන වේදනාව තමයි ඒ conditioned කියන දේ. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Does that
Yes,
make
Bhante.
sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So you can have a neutral feeling also, Bhante.
Absolutely, absolutely. You can have a neutral feeling. Neutral feeling, however, is a bit more subtle to understand. Right? However, neutral feelings can also be caught by a mind that is a little bit more, you need a little bit more stability to catch a neutral feeling because it is far more subtle than somanassa and domanassa.
Yeah.
Right? But neutral feeling is also present. Right? However, this is in taming the mind, being able to have that skill to turn the indriya, which would usually function on its own, supported by the conditioned mind, you making it a tool. Do you understand? Method, what do we do in this sense then? In this instance, what we do is then we do not allow that nimitta, which has been taken by as to the Vedana of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, to go on its own road. Now, for example, let us take this anoma, right? Lassana manusek api dakinama. We see a beautiful person.
Yeah.
Right? In seeing the beautiful person, now facial, body, or as a structure, the structure of the person, tall, broad-shouldered, slim waist, or whatever it is, beautiful, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that is so politically incorrect, right?
Yes.
I might have to edit that out, regardless, right? Personal opinion. Now let us say an image of whatever sort, beautiful, right? Lassanai kiyala dakkata passe, after we hold on to it as beautiful or we allow that chain to follow, what happens next? Now craving towards the vyanjana.
Yes.
Yeah, Vyanjana arises. Now that is, look at it, look at the hands, look at how pretty the legs are, look at how, you know what I mean? Now when the craving arose, what happened? We went on its journey.
Yeah.
Now what happened? We got caught.
Yes, Bhante.
Right? Now, who is controlling? That object is controlling. Do you understand? Api එතනට යන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? එතනට යන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. එතනට යන්න දෙන්නේ නැති, දැන් කියමු, a person can be truly beautiful. Right? Healthy, all of that, can be truly beautiful. Now, in presuming or assuming or labeling something that is beautiful as not beautiful is a vanchaka dhamma or not. Right? It is a vanchaka dhamma. Eka boruwak. Rasa dekata raha naha කියන එක බොරුවක් නෙමෙයිද? ලස්සන දෙයකට කැත කියන එක බොරුවක් නෙමෙයිද? Right? ඒක බොරුවක්. අපි දැන් මෙතන බොරු කරන්නේ නෙමෙයිනේ ඉන්නේ. Right? ඔතකොට අපි ලස්සන මලකට මෙතන ලස්සනක් නැහැ කියලා කියන එක බොරුවක් නෙමෙයිද?
බොරුවක් වගේ Bhante, it's a stress also, very stressful. Also,
Yes,
to say.
Yes, it is. Right? It is. It
Mind එකට.
Mind එකට. Right? ඒක හින්දා තමයි දැන් මෙතන ඉන්ද්‍රිය භාවනාවේදී අපි කරන්නේ බොරුවක් නෙමෙයි. මෙතන අපි කරන්නේ the power that the object holds over our being is taken back. I control what I'm going to think. Do you understand?
Yes.
I control my reality. I control my yonismansikara, not the object. Not that person's ugly behavior or that person's pleasant behavior. I control what my mind is going to work as. And when kama chanda and vyapada, then metana prashnayak, control like a prashnayak in metana, the control becomes a problem here. When kama chanda, when control is done by kama chanda and vyapada, sensuous desire and ill will, that is where the control becomes dangerous. But in Indriya Bhavana, the control is not done by Kama, Chanda and Vyapada. It is done by the three most powerful consciousnesses that can arise together, that goes against every stride and power of the Kamavachara Bhumi, Alobha, Adosa, Amoha. Do you understand? I became a little bit of a politician there. Really campaigning for in 19th year.
Budget speech.
Bhante, can I ask you something, please, Bhante?
Yes, one moment, one moment, one moment. Anuma, is that clear?
Yes, Bhante, now
Is
I can
that clear?
understand.
Right?
Yes, Bhante, yeah.
That is the difference. That is the difference.
I want to
Right? Now, yes.
But Bhante, can I ask you something, please?
Yes, go ahead.
So, Bhante, so when we say that that we are seeing something as impermanent growth and condition, what we are saying is, so impermanent is anitya, growth is olarika, and condition means paticca samuppada. Is it? Am I right?
Repeat again, please.
So when we say that whenever we see something, we've got to, that if your states of consciousness are expanded and you're going on the path, then you see it as impermanent, anicca, you see it as gross, olarika, and you see it as conditioned in English, which is the same as saying paticca samuppada in Sinhala.
Paticca samuppanna. 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 Depend, rising dependent, right? Samuppanna, right? Now, back to the sign, back to the nimitta. Any other questions? Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking, Dil. Now, back to the sign, when it comes to the sign is cognized, or the sign is attached to by pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral feeling, right? By the force of Chanda Raga Vasena. Chanda Raga Vasena. Right? Chanda Raga Vasena. And Ditti Matta Vasena. Chanda Raga Vasena, one's sensual lust, and Ditti Matta Vasena, one's view. Me deka ekatu vela thamai ara nimitta kerehi alima kataganne. Did you understand? It is with chandas, one's sensual lust and one's commitment to one's view, that we cling on to this nimitta, the sign, the sign, right? The sign. Now look at that. Chandaraga vasena, ditti matta vasena. Ditti and chand. Right? Ditti and Chanda. With Ditti and Chanda, that is what creates this initiation of mind in the presumption of permanence, in the presumption that this is going to hold on and persevere and prolong, that this is it, that this is what is important at this moment. Chanda, Raga, and Ditti. Me deka ekatu nama thamai. When it comes together, we feel a sense of permanence in that object. Right? That is where that is which we attack. How? By a guarded mind. Do you understand? Right? By a guarded mind. A ragate, the fire, right? We will see, hear, smell, taste, and feel. We will not allow what we hear, smell, taste, and feel, the 5 objects of the 5 senses, to take over the controlling mechanisms of the being. Do you understand? It takes the controlling mechanisms of the being when Chanda, through sensual lust, one sensual lust, grasping that arises through one sensual lust, and grasping that, and on account of one's own views. Do you understand? Right? Otokota, Anoma, මේකත් දැන් එකතු කරාගන්න අර
Yes, Bhante.
right? මේකත් එකතු කරාගන්න විස්තරයට. When we look at the Katha Mala, the ugly flower, right? There is, right, the view. Yeah. And then there is, now we are holy, we do not want to accept that this is an ugly flower. No, we do not want to let go of the fact that this is an ugly flower. Do you understand?
Yes, Bhante.
මේක හින්දා හටගන්නව අන්තගාමී භාවය. Do you understand? තණ්හාවේ අගතියට, ද්වේෂයේ අගතියට, මෝහයේ අගතියට ගිහිලා අපි කටයුතු කරනවා. What is that? We go to extremes of lust, go to extremes of anger, hatred, ill will, and we go to extremes of those of moha, and we work with that. Do you understand? When we go to the extreme of it, what happens is now that takes control. We have lost control now. Right? The chanda and the view has taken control. The control has been, what is it controlling now? What has your life become? That flower or that person, right? Or whatever element that the mind is overwhelmed and overtaken by. That is what has now taken control, right? Samantha is asking, Bhante, is there a view if the feeling is neutral? Yes, there is, right? Still, there can be, because for a feeling, upekha, now if you would take Samantha, the first line of consciousness, right? Upe, and go on to the equanimous. Equanimous. Upekha sagata dittigata sampayutta. Upekha sahagata dittigata sampayutta. Asankharika sasankharika. Upekha sagata dittigata vippayutta. Asankharika sasankharika. There you have it, Samantha. Yes, there can be ditti in upekha feeling. Now, for example, I speak to you 6 days a week, right? Now, sometimes, you are kind of like desensitized to me. You're not so sensitive to me sometimes, right? Why? Because you hear me speaking and you see me all the time. That is, no, it happens, isn't it? Right? So now you're listening to me, you're hearing what I say, but there's a sense of upekha that also arises, right? Now see, likewise, you can be with ditti, you can be present, right? However, upekha feeling, yes, upekha is a feeling, ditti is a chetasika, Samantha, yes, it can.
Sorry, Bhante, I didn't really understand what you said was the other bits. You were saying.
Yes. So remember the first chapter of Abhidhamma, right? Yeah. The first chapter of Abhidhamma, we have 12 unwholesome consciousnesses, no? 8 of which are lobha mula, greed-rooted. The last 4 greed-rooted consciousnesses are of neutral feeling. Right? The last 4 of neutral feeling. Those neutral feeling, upekha sagata, with neutral feeling, accompanied by view, prompted and unprompted.
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember.
Remember?
Yeah.
And also, if you need another example, where you find in the beautiful consciousnesses, upeka sagata jnana sampyutta, asankarika sasankarika.
Mm.
Right? With pleasant feeling, jnana with knowledge.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Prompted and unprompted. There you go, Samantha. Your answer there.
Thank
Right?
you. Because
Okay.
just quickly, because some people say that not the view that if it's neutral, that means your ignorance sets in. I really can't understand that, because sometimes, you know, you see someone like the postman or something in the road, as for example, then you have a neutral feeling. Whereas if it's your neighbor or something, you know them, and if you like the neighbor, you have a like feeling. So you're aware that feeling is neutral. So that's not ignorance, is it? That view. Because they associate the feeling of neutral to being ignorant. Either you should have a pleasant or an unpleasant feeling, and that's always confused me.
No, definitely not. Now, for example, Samantha, when you're living with your husband, right? You know, when you're living with someone, right? When you're living with someone, having lived with that person, you know, and that person walks into the room, you don't really take notice of them all the time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you're just doing your own thing and that person is doing their own thing, right? Now, is that ignorance? No, you're just doing your own thing and that person is doing their own thing, right?
Yeah.
So it does not have a connection. Ignorance. Now, upeka sagata dittigata sampayutta is ignorance. Again, with equanimous feeling, with wrong view.
Right.
Ignorance.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Right? But remember that upeka sagata with equanimity or equanimous feeling arises also dittigata vipayutta, without wrong view.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Sense. Lovely. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There you go, Samantha.
Thank you. Great.
Goes. Right? There you go. Now, by the way, it is not Vyanjana, it is Anu Vyanjana. Okay? Anu. And the Anu in front. Huh? I was thinking there's something wrong in that word. Anu Vyanjana.
It has no connection with Vyanjana. When we cook things, we have Vyanjana kiya kadana. But this Anu Vyanjana has nothing to do with the Vyanjana, isn't it? Okay.
Could do. The appetizers or the amuse bouche could be the Anu Vyanjanas. Right. Now, the features, the Anu Vyanjana, when the nimitta is taken with chandaraga, with sensuous lust and one's wrong view, that is when everyone, the Vyanjana clinging exacerbates. Anu Vyanjana, the features, the exacerbates into the features. Now, finding greater detail to cling on to. Do you understand? Finding greater detail to cling on to, and you can just see the vines of this Kama Loka further finding its way to yoke this object and grasp it even more firmly. Do you understand? Right? Yes, Siri.
Is it Papanya Sanya?
Yes, prapancha sanya, but prapancha, it is prapancha. Tanha, ditti, both. Yeah, mana comes in when it further facilitates the further attachment onto tanha and mana. Tanha and ditti. Mokada mamane meka allagana inne. You know, I won't choose something wrong. No, I am never wrong. Right? That sense comes, sorry. That sense comes from mana, right? That sense comes from mana. Now, when it comes to let us say when it comes to Indriya Bhavana and now Indriya Samvara, right? We have gone through Indriya Bhavana, and now Indriya Sambara, restrained the no. We have to now discuss. We have something called the restraint of senses, right? Indriya Sambara. And then we have Indriya Bhavana, which is a cultivation of the faculties. Bhavana is cultivation. Indriya Bhavana and Indriya Sambara. When it comes to Indriya Bhavana and Indriya Sambara, what is the difference between these two? Right? When it comes to Indriya Bhavana is the development of mind in responding to objects experienced through the sense faculties, right? Again, is the development of mind in responding to the objects experienced through the sense faculties. Do you understand? Right? There is no suppression. Right? This is the development of mind in responding to the objects experienced through the sense faculties. Right? Sense faculties. The development to the sense faculties. Whereas, when it comes to the restraint of the sense faculties, Indriya Sambara, that involves the controlling the mind in such a manner that it will not grasp at the signs and features that we see. Do you understand? Controlling the mind in not grasping onto the signs and the features, the nimittas and the anuvyanjanas. Right? They are specifically their distinctive attributes, right? Their distinctive attributes and their sort of repulsive attributes, right? We don't grasp at any of this. Do you understand? We operate in a manner that we are not moved by these things that we experience. That is the difference between Indriya Bhavana and Indriya Sambara. Do you understand? Is that clear, everyone? Yes, Damsire.
Indriya Sambara is achieved through Sila.
Sila is one part of it. Bhavana can be one part of it as well.
Bhavana can also be one part.
Bhavana can also be one part of it, because remember, Sambara, now grasping no Damsire.
Yeah.
Right? Grasping of Sila can support it. Now, for example, if a monk doesn't touch money, many of the sensuous pleasures of the world is now just simply cut.
Yeah.
See? Sila. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Right? Now, let us say, if a lay person does not gamble, right? Or if a lay person does not drink, how many things simply by the decision of not drinking, how many dangers are cut off, potential of danger is cut off from that person's life. See, so Sila can be one part of it, but it doesn't stop there, because this is the grasping, it's mental.
Yeah.
It's mental, right? So the amount of the mental part of it is made easy by the Sila, but the main focus remains at the mental.
Yeah.
Is that clear? Any questions, anyone? Indriya Bhavana and Indriya Sambara. Right? Yes, Dil. Dil, you're speaking, we can't hear. Yes.
This is so fascinating, Mante, because there are so many people I don't want to mention names, but you would know them also. They used to come to LP, London Buddhist Vihara, and they used to say, we keep the sila so intact. Why can't we progress on the path, right? Because because they're not aware of the fact that the sila itself is protective, but there is no development and growth of the mind that actually makes these things dissolve, right? So that it's like when the Buddha said, well, if you don't want to investigate, then if you're blind and if you're deaf and something, then you have to be Nibbana.
Yeah.
When the Buddha said the same. The other thing I find fascinating is that you use the word, first I wondered why, but you always use in this Chanda Raga Vasena and Dittimatta Vasena. Because if you just said the word Chanda, it's not sensual lust because Chanda is in Iddhipada. So you have to say Chanda Raga. So if you don't say that, I was just thinking why you were telling Chanda, and then you were constant time name of Chandaraga, Chanda. And that is sensual lust as opposed to Chanda, which is the desire for liberation, which is very different.
Right.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Dil, for bringing that up. Let me further elaborate. Let us take the word Ditti Matta Vasena.
Yes.
Drushtiya matai api katiyutu karanne. දෘෂ්ටිය මත අපි කටයුතු කරන්නේ. ඡන්ද රාග වශයෙන්. ඒ ඡන්දයට රාගයක් ඇති වෙලා තමයි අපි වාසය කරන්නේ. තේරුණාද? Right? So for those who do not have a good grasp of Sinhala, Chanda is like desire, that's sensuous, right? Sensual, the sensual aspect. The lusting is for the sensuous aspect. Sensuous lust, no? The lust is for the sensuous aspect. Ditti matta vasena. Ditti matta vasena is, ditti is the wrong view.
Yes.
And we take this wrong view as our own. That we take this wrong view as our own. That is why we think, everyone, when we are eating something, that this is the best. I am living the life. Right? That is why we think that. That is how, that is Chandaraga Vasena and Ditti Matta Vasena coming together. Right? Coming together. Right? That is how, at that moment, our world as we know it changes to becoming all about this thing that I'm eating, seeing, smelling, tasting, feeling. Do you understand? Is that clear? Right? The Pali actually makes it far more clearer, isn't it? Yes.
I didn't realize Vasena was Bhante only when you said, but this is why I was thinking maybe 5 years ago, I thought the best thing I could do when retire was to go on a cruise. Yeah. Because if all my friends had gone on cruises, I have never been on one. But all these 2 or 3 years with me now, when we came out of thing, I mean, all my other friends said, let's go on a cruise, Bill. You're the only one who hasn't gone. I have no interest whatsoever to go on this cruise. And I wondered why, because it was such an important thing before. And then you realize that some of these things now no longer hold the desire that they had. 2.5 years of exposure to Bhante Panyavansa.
Now, I think that the other part, everyone, what we have to then discuss is the last part of what is conditioned, what is olarika, and what is paticcasamuppanna. Those 3 parts. We'll do it next week. Yeah.
Bhante, in the sutra it says Sankata, Olarika, Pachuppanna.
Pachuppanna. Yes. Pachuppanna. Yeah. Pachuppanna. Yeah. Please correct that. Pachuppanna.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, so Kisima ගුරු මුෂ්ටියක් නැතුව අද අපි ඉගෙන ගත්තා. මොකද නැත්තම් අපිට සමහර කට්ටිය කියන්න පුළුවන් advance එක පස්සේ, you know, all of that. No, there is no requirement of that. Right? Right? So this is the whole entire practice, everyone. Right? Indriya Bhavanaව ගත්තම මෙන්න මේ ටික තමයි තියෙන්නේ. when we come to cultivate it, it is beautiful, it is flowery, it is absolutely, absolutely saturating, right? The presence and solidity of mind that is brought about, the freedom of mind that takes place within a being at a position when we finally experience a state of mental freedom and liberation from the sense, from the drive and the hold of the sense doors. It's a beautiful, liberating, and a very light feeling, right? A very light feeling. This does not mean that in any way that you will become like one of those psychopathic, sociopathic types. No, you become an absolutely sorted, solid person in every meaning of its word, from every aspect of beauty, right? Because you are unwaveringly within the present with the wholesome. So when we see ugly in the world, we see potential of cultivating the path. When we see beauty in the world, that beauty now aids us in the path. Every aspect of the world now personifies the path. Starting from Aloba, Adosa, and Amoha, everything like a pitcher pouring water to fill a cup, just so the world and everything that the world flows in through these five senses helps us in cultivating the path. It is a beautiful practice, right? It is a beautiful practice. So that is it for today. Nirvaneta Manapaya.
Thank you, Bhante. Teruvan Saranai. Thank you,
Teruvan
Bhante.
Saranai.